I'm Cheyenne.
I'm Marie. I'm Alyssa.
This is our presentation, Rivers in Taoism.
Taoist thought is not just one practice or idea. It can be interpreted as these 5 elements: outrage over political corruption, non-action, teaching without words, the way or Dao, and mysticism. Many of these themes are noted in the art of Andy Goldsworthy. Chapter 29 of the Tao Te Ching. Those who would gain the world and do something with it, I see that they will fail. For the world is a spiritual vessel, and one cannot put it to use. Those who use it ruin it. Those who grab hold of it lose it. This is why sages cast off whatever is extreme, extravagant, or excessive. Compared to Rivers and Tides, Andy Goldsworthy discusses how humanity is chasing toward a lifestyle that involves needing to get the newest trend, and how everything they consider worthwhile is also incredibly dispensable. In his art, he attempts to show how we should enjoy living in the moment, while also acknowledging the simplicity and fragility of beauty. Non-action is favored by Taoist thinkers because it is living in the moment and performing an action without thinking about it, or without overthinking it. Goldsworthy's non-action is his mental state in creating art. An example of non-action would be Goldsworthy's attempt to build his rock tower and how it would fall multiple times during creation. Each time he started over, he found he could build the next one faster because he was becoming more connected with it. In his words, each time it falls, I understand the stone, and each time I am able to build it a little higher. Non-action also includes the idea that virtues are unnecessary, because in non-action you don't do anything harmful to yourself or others, so the concept of virtue is unneeded. Chapter 38 states, "Those of highest virtue do not strive, and so they have it. Those of lowest virtue never stray from virtue, so they lack it. Those of highest virtue practice non-action and never act for ulterior motives." Goldsworthy does not create art as an attempt to reach higher virtue. Instead, he creates his artwork for the sake of the action.
Without words, sages abide by non-action and practice the teachings that is without words. Persons tend to think in terms of polarities when they use words to describe things. An example is if you point out a tree in the forest and call it beautiful. By giving it its name, you are saying that all the trees are not as beautiful as this tree. It is by being so hypersensitive to words that people become arrogant. Without words, Goldsworthy would often photograph his artwork since it would quickly be destroyed by nature, as in our picture. Because words could not explain how or why of his art, Goldsworthy would often stop talking whenever he tried to explain it. The reason behind his art was beyond the capacity of words. Chapter 78 and 8. In all the world nothing is more simple or weak than water, yet nothing can surpass it for attacking what is stiff and strong, and so nothing can take its place. The highest good is like water. Water is good at benefiting the myriad of creatures, while not condemning with them. It resides in the places that people find repellent, and so comes close to the way. Layers in the earth. Goldsworthy discusses how the river is not dependent on water, but the water is dependent on the river. In an example, he mentions how the sheep who graze on the pasture have slowly eaten all of the landscape. To go off of the last slide, with layers of the earth, he considers this to be but one layer of the many layers that occur in nature. He notes that he needs the land, but the land does not necessarily need him. He sees the flow in everything in the land, and the way is in everything, just as the river is in everything.
Fourth theme is Taoist expression of the way, and humans try and take things or ascribe certain things of the way when the way is the source of all things. The way, perhaps we can at best say, is the source of all things and thus transcends them. But we can only say this by affirming the opposite as well. The way is indistinct from all things and is immanent with them. You can connect this to the movie with when Goldsworthy first gets to a new location site for his art projects. He always spends a certain length of time exploring and learning his new environment. While he does prefer his own home rather than traveling to new places, he does enjoy being in nature. It is important for Goldsworthy to explore his surroundings when he first reaches a work site. It allows him to become familiar with the land and shake hands with nature before he starts a project. The fifth theme is mysticism, which is a type of knowledge that can't be adequately expressed in words but is important to human life in general. Taoist writers are trying to overcome socialization and get back to their true nature. Andy Goldsworthy can only socialize and stay away from his work for so long before he starts feeling fake. He feels as if he is not a true representation of his artwork. Within Zen and Buddhist thought, all claims to knowing lead to certain forms of clinging to that knowledge. Buddhists meditate with the goal of overcoming oneself, seeing through words.
Go.
Andy Goldsworthy uses his art as a form of meditation, using it to return to what he views as his true self. He simply works on his art in silence, focusing only on that.
Through the use of his temporary artwork, Goldsworthy attempts to show us the beauty and fleetingness of time and the full effect that nature can have on our ways. When creating his art, he incorporates the act of non-action in order to push his sculptures to the very edge of their stability. His artwork transcends human thought and attempts to lead instead into the Taoist ideals of human experience.
Thank you for watching our presentation, and we hope you've learned something new.